Stephanie from the Energy Boutique with your energy and ascension forecast for Sunday, September 10th to Saturday, September 16th. So last week was a little bit of a doozy. Of course, we had Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money, finally go direct in the heart and soul of the zodiac in this Leo energy on the 3rd. Now, not even 24 hours later, we had Jupiter, the planet of growth, expansion, beliefs, abundance, and blessings, go retrograde in this Taurus energy. So it's almost as if Jupiter and Venus decided to kind of switch sides, if you will. Venus now here in the exterior realm, trying to piece together the change of heart that she's had and what that means for the roles and responsibilities that will be changing in her physical realm, along with who and what is staying and is going. Of course, now that Venus, of course, she is in this post-retrograde shadow period until October 8th, so it is a slow adjustment, a slow acclimatization, if you will. But Jupiter, the planet of growth and expansion, he's taken us on a little bit of a journey inward. We have a lot of growth that we need to kind of piece together. We've been through a lot, but we've been in survival mode. And now this is giving us a break to kind of stop, to really reflect on all that has changed, all that has transpired. And because of that, give us a little bit of an opportunity to get our inner realm situated. We have some catching up to do, so to speak, with some of the tough love life lessons that we've been growing through and going through, and how to integrate that in our inner realm so that we have the knowledge to actually put into practice. Again, many of us know better, but have yet to actually do better. Now, Venus and Jupiter kind of switching places there was the precursor, if you will, to a few very intense days, especially when it comes to anxiety, when it comes to rage, when it comes to revolving complexities as far as the emotional weight goes. And of course, a lot of that is because the collective is going through an upgrade, should I say. And because of that, us light workers that have been holding down this grid, we had the tough job to alchemize some of those heavier emotions, those heavier thoughts, that heavier pain and trauma that the collective had experienced. So many of us were in a fit of rage, a fit of anxiety. I know myself, I was absolutely debilitated with anxiety and rage for a couple of days there. And yes, I know we all have things going on in our lives that we can contribute some of these, emotions and thoughts and experiences to, but it all aligns with the energy coming in. And again, Venus and Jupiter kind of switching places there was the precursor to a profound insight, should I say. On the 6th, we had Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information communication, how it is that we express ourselves, who has been in a retrograde in its place of power in this Virgo energy, meet up with the sun. And of course, anytime any planet is meeting up with the sun, it's a resurrection, it's a renewal, it's a rebirth. Just as we had Venus's star point back on August 13th with the sun, that kind of awoke in her, that brought her back to life, that kind of got her new version of self into alignment. Mercury went through the same thing. Now, it also marked the halfway point in Mercury's retrograde, which is a great thing. We can all kind of agree there that, having Mercury go direct would be a great help for us at this particular point with all these planets in a retrograde. But not only did we have Mercury kind of resurrect himself, rebirth himself on the 6th, we also had the last quarter moon taking place in Gemini energy. And I don't know if you pieced all this together, but it was a Wednesday. Mercury rules over Wednesdays. Mercury's in his rulership in Virgo energy and rules over Gemini energy. That was the reasoning for the, I'm going to say, anxiety, the anticipation, the restlessness, the boats, the fits of rage, frustration. Very, very much building towards that last quarter moon, which is always a critical crisis point for us to kind of look back on this past lunar cycle, really piece things together. Now, in that Gemini energy, it should have been illuminating where it is that we've been sitting on the fence, kind of torn between two different paths, two different directions, two different options. And it should have illuminated one path more favorable over the other. Now, if you haven't been able to make sense of this as of yet, don't worry about it. We have a couple of days left still of Mercury being retrograde. It's not going to be until he goes direct before we're going to be able to actually put our finger on some of the things that we've realized, let alone be able to articulate it. But there was a shift, a major shift, and many of us had that buildup of energies in our physical bodies that felt very crushing. And of course, we're in this birthing process. We're technically in a quote unquote void as we are being reborn. And we definitely hit a high precipice point of energy here over this past week. So this week we will be building towards the new moon in Virgo energy. That is definitely going to be a beautiful revelation, a beautiful point in change, a beautiful point in energy for all of us. Of course, still feeding very much off of the full moon in Pisces that we had just a couple of weeks ago. And not only 24 hours after the new moon in Virgo peaks, we're going to have Mercury go direct. So this is going to be the last week of having Mercury be retrograde. But of course, he goes into his post-retrograde shadow period. So there's still some miscommunication, some misunderstandings. There's still some confusion, but we will slowly but surely be putting the pieces together. So we are in for an interesting week. I would say definitely less energetically triggering than last week. Let's cross our fingers and hope for that. But that new moon in Virgo is no joke. It's taking place at the latter degrees. It's on the healing axis. This is, the reason why we've been kind of feeling pressurized and crushed, so to speak, by the world, by the energy, by the circumstances of our lives, because, it's the whole birthing process. I talked very much about this, especially over on Patreon, which I'm going to invite you to kind of cross over and support me over there, because we talked about the kite formation that's taking place that began back in the full moon in Pisces that will reach its completion point here in the new moon in Virgo. And of course, that's a very rare formation in the cosmos. And it is a huge validation that we are going through a karmic pressure point, if you will. So there is a lot of information that I put out over on my Patreon, because again, a lot of things that I want to talk about and that people want me to talk about, not very YouTube friendly. And for those of you who are not creators on YouTube, just to give you a little bit of behind the scenes, we as creators just got another update from YouTube that they will be taking away a lot of our control over ad space, over how we are actually able to make money here on YouTube, which is another blow, I would say, to the creator community. So just another reason why I encourage you to jump over to Patreon, support me over there. Anywho, before we jump into the Ascension symptoms, I just want to kind of address a couple of things. First of all, I just want to be a little bit transparent. I was actually considering just kind of, canceling or postponing or rescheduling the live chat, the Ascension forecast here today. I've been awake for 2 days straight and I'm not feeling so hot. I'm not feeling so together. Most of that is because my little guy, and I say little guy, my little boy dog, who is 120 pounds, he went in for his routine neuter, which I know should not be a big deal. However, this energetic mama got a little bit up in arms about it. Definitely fearful for some of the horrible things that could happen, especially seeing as I just had a friend who had their 1-year-old Rottweiler taken in for a routine spay and actually didn't make it out of surgery. So that kind of planted the seed of fear in me, and it's not something that I wanted to do anyways. So I've been awake for 2 days, just kind of, being the anxious mama, making sure that everything is okay. And of course, making things a way bigger deal than they need to be. And then we had some pretty intense thunder and lightning storms here, last night. So Thursday evening, for those of you tuning in maybe late. And I don't get any sleep when there is thunder and lightning because my doggies do not enjoy it. I know most dogs, most animals don't, but ever since we kind of lived through a hurricane, it isn't a fun thing. The minute that there's high winds, that there's rumblings, that there is rain, this house is just a panting, pacing mess. So I was going to put this off just because I am kind of low on energy and God only knows what I'm actually talking about. But I thought, you know what? Nope. we're going to show up. We're going to show up whether we're tired, whether we're talking nonsense or not, and hopefully make a little bit of sense about what's going on. So I do want to just be transparent enough to say that I am very low energy. I am a little bit all over the place, scatterbrained, but I appreciate you tuning in nonetheless. And let's all just hope for a little bit more sleep in our futures. So I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for liking, for commenting, for sharing. I want to thank you for dropping emojis in the comment section below the videos. That is very much helping out the algorithm. Thank you for the love and support that you constantly are giving my way. And thank you again to those that have shifted over to Patreon. I am going to be Patreon kind of changed their guidelines too. It's making it very difficult for creators out here. Not sure if you guys are aware of that or not, but it's not a fun time to try and keep up with all the changes that these platforms are kind of putting on creators. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. However, I'm going to continue to pour the more triggering content, I guess, over on Patreon. So I just wanted to address something from last week. I made a comment in last week's rant that didn't sit very well with a lot of people, and I would just suggest that maybe that's because of indoctrination. But it was about the angels and demons comment. I had a lot of people make a comment about how I don't know what I'm talking about because angels are good. Yeah, joke's on you. You'll figure it out. But what I also wanted to say about that is if you leave a comment below a video expressing your thoughts and your opinions, and it is an open conversation where everybody is kind of chiming in and there's no bullying, there's no rudeness, everybody is being respectful, and you go ahead and decide to delete that comment thread, really, I mean, you're not doing yourself any kind of service, but you're really kind of taking away from the opportunity on what this community in particular is supposed to be, which is about talking about some of these topics and themes and, you know, acting as a catalyst for change, for perspective in other people's lives. And so as much as I welcome, you know, everybody to kind of drop a comment, especially if you have a differing perspective, when there is a good thread going and everybody's happy-go-lucky and there's no harm being done, please do not remove your comments. That is so, it just bewilders me. There was a nice conversation going on, you know, with multiple people here about the angels and demons comment and, you know, explaining different perspectives and sharing different insights. And then all of a sudden, the original poster just decided to delete the comment, delete the whole thread. Now, you know, I'm not going to project why they did that. However, I would say that it's because they got a little bit schooled in that conversation and realized that, you know, the comments that they were making, the argument that they were making was based off of, I would say, indoctrination for the most part. But, you know, this community is here to share and to empower and to let each other know that we're not in this alone. And I think that it just goes against what it is that we're all trying to do here, which is to share information and knowledge and to challenge each other's perspective. Especially, you know, it's not very often this day and age where you can find an online space where people aren't being bullied and they aren't being rude, and, you know, that you can have these intellectual conversations with respect. And I was very, very disheartened to see so many people make such bold claims and open up those conversations and have that, you know, very respectful, very educational, very informative exchange, and then just have somebody delete the whole conversation. It's very disappointing. But anyways, for those of you who want to continue to talk about those types of things, Patreon is more the space to do it. And in my mind, I would like to say that maybe YouTube deleted our whole conversation, even though I feel like it is the original poster that kind of did it. It would be really nice to think that maybe YouTube kind of pulled that conversation because of the sensitive content that they don't want us talking about here on YouTube. So for those of you that have messaged me and said, oh, yeah, I want you to talk more about that, not on here. YouTube is not a safe place. And so that's why I've created that Patreon community. And I really invite y'all to kind of jump over there, support in whichever way you can, especially if you're interested to continue these types of conversations that essentially got wiped out with one person just changing their belief system after a conversation of other people trying to show them different thoughts and different opinions. I just feel like there's nothing wrong with making a statement and then having a conversation about it and then being enlightened in that conversation to topics and themes that you didn't have knowledge or information about. That doesn't mean that you should be embarrassed. It doesn't mean that you should delete your comment. It doesn't mean that you're dumb in any way. It gives us all an opportunity to see where each of us are kind of gaining our perspective, our wisdom, our knowledge from. And so, those more sensitive conversations should definitely be had over on Patreon, not in YouTube. But there's a lot of comments. I open up my notifications each and every single day, and I try to address each and every single person that has taken the time and the energy to leave me a comment, whatever that may be. And I try to reply to everyone, and I go in oftentimes and the comment is no longer there. And it's disheartening because a lot of the comments that get posted and then, tend to get removed, whether by YouTube or by the creator themselves, those are the juicy bits of info that we want to be talking about, that we want to have a conversation about. So it's super disheartening to go in and see that, here's I'm going to say an enlightening and triggering topic of conversation, and then all of a sudden it's not there to kind of elaborate on. So if you're dropping those types of gems and then all of a sudden you see that your comment is deleted and it wasn't you who did it, please comment below and let me know, like, hey, my comments are getting deleted, so that I know that it's YouTube and not you doing it, because I really encourage you to continue to leave your comments there, regardless of whether you believe in them at the end of the conversation or not. I think it's a good tool to show the evolution of enlightenment that we can all kind of benefit from when we all have these thoughts, these opinions, and these energy exchanges. So that is my Patreon rant. Again, I'm going to encourage you to download your September zodiac forecast if you haven't already. We have a lot still going on here in September, and you should stay ahead of the energy by kind of exploring the energy forecast for the month and seeing where it should pop up in your life. That's the best way to kind of handle the sudden changes, the sudden events, if you will, coming at us. We will be building towards that new moon in Virgo. So of course there will be a moon guide available for download for that. And the Virgo season e-guide should still be alive and well, of course, as we kind of gain momentum towards that equinox energy, towards Libra season. There will be another e-guide available for that particular zodiac season and the highs and lows and everything in between on what we can experience. So please pay attention for those particular downloads to be available over the next couple of days. Okay, let's jump into this Ascension forecast. Let's talk about exhaustion. Let's talk about sleepiness. Not even pulling from my current experience right now. I'm just talking overall, our souls are tired. You can have 12 hours sleep, fulfilling sleep, and you're still going to wake up absolutely exhausted. This is because in the energetic realms, in the astral realms, we are going through a major change, a major transformation, a major metamorphosis. Again, I'm going to encourage you to jump over to Patreon, listen to the astro class that I just posted. I go into some serious depth and detail on why it is that we're feeling this sudden squeeze, if you will. And again, as we approach the equinox energy, that is the resetting of the karmic playing field in which we are currently on. So there's a lot of reasoning for that. But again, the kite formation that is taking place in the cosmos right now is a lot to do with it. So that exhaustion, that sleepiness, probably going to continue, especially with all of these planets in a retrograde. I see no reason why we're going to get perky, why we're going to be downloaded with energy at all. When we talk about physical energy, we tend to look at Mars. Mars is not happy right now. He's in Libran energy. There's a lot more going on in our inner realms of thoughts, of emotions, than there is going on in our physical body as far as having that energy goes. I'm sure if you paid attention, you would realize you have a lot more mental energy, a lot more emotional energy than you do physical energy. And there's a reason for that, and that's because of the upgrades that we're going through in our soul self, in our energetic self. A lot of that is because we're being crushed, we're being pressurized. May I remind you that diamonds are only formed under intense pressure. And because we are kind of going through the void, going through the birthing process, it's painful. We go from feeling absolutely crushed on all sides of our experience to full expansion on where it is that we can kind of grow a little bit more, where we can learn a little bit more, where we can improve ourselves a little bit more from the breakdowns in which we're currently having. The energy has to come on quick, has to come on fast, has to come on very intense, has to kind of put us at the bottom of the barrel. And then not too long after, we're climbing our asses out. We're seeing a different perspective from what it is that we were currently sitting in. This is the process of expansion, especially between the full moon in Pisces and the new moon in Virgo. This is on the healing axis of our emotional and spiritual selves versus our physical and mental selves. So this back and forth accordion effect definitely going to continue throughout this week. Now, the anxiety, the anticipation, the nervousness, the restlessness, that's likely going to continue too. We're in Virgo season, right? Virgo season is a pile of nerves because Mercury rules over Virgo season. Mercury's in his rulership. He's bringing a lot up. He's bringing a lot from the past up. He's bringing a lot of anxiety up, a lot of nervousness up. We have this OCD perfectionism energy in Virgo season and in Virgo placements. And this is why we're feeling the pressure, and we're likely going to continue to feel all that nervousness, that anxiety, that anticipation. I don't feel like it's going to be as intense as it was last week with the changing of the guards there between Venus and Jupiter. However, little bouts of anxiety and anticipation really show you where it is that you have to focus your energy, get it out of your physical body, put it to work, put it to use. There's going to be sporadic coughing fits. And a lot of this is because Mercury, who is about communication, is retrograde. We're choking on our spit. We're choking on our words. We're biting our tongue in a lot of cases because we can't quite articulate what it is that we're thinking and feeling. So the throat clearing, the sporadic coughing also plays into heart activations as well because it's chest related. But we're trying to get something out. Now, we may not know what it is that we're trying to get out, and that's okay, but our physical bodies feel the energetic purge, if you will, to get some things off of our chest, to get some things out of our headspace, to get some things out of our heart space. And that kind of puts the physical aspect into throat clearing, into coughing, choking on your spit, choking on your words in a lot of cases as well. I want to talk about this air bubble. Now, this air bubble in your guts, a lot of this has to do with Virgo season because our digestive systems just take a huge hit in Virgo energy due to the nervousness, due to the electricity, due to the anxiety, the worry. But this air bubble is also a heart activation, and it sits right under, your rib cage, and it actually puts us in a situation where we're taking very, very small, short breaths. Now, we've been talking about breath work. We talk about how many of us do this shallow breathing and how it's not doing us any kind of good. As painful as it may be to kind of breathe as deep as possible with this air bubble, that's how we expel it. That's how we minimize it. That's how we bring new energy, new prana, new mana into our physical bodies is through breath work. So this is going to be a challenge for us to get that deep, fulfilling breath and past that pain that kind of pierces us when we have those air bubbles. Now, again, this is solar plexus upgrades. This is heart chakra upgrades as well. And a lot of it is stemming from our root chakra. Now, our root chakra connects us to survival, to our physical bodies, to this physical realm. That's why many of us still having lower back pain. Now, I want you to pay attention to your legs this week. You may be having tinglies. Maybe they're falling asleep. Maybe you're having tremors. Whatever the case may be, we are actively trying to get our asses in gear, literally. We are preparing to take steps moving forward and to make major moves. We're preparing for it. This is why we're going to be feeling the energy in our lower extremities. I want you to pay attention to sore lips or burning lips. This kind of plays into holding a lot of energy still within us. We have a lot to say. We have a lot to speak on. We have a lot that we want to kind of get off of our chest, but we're not ready to articulate it. So we're holding all of this energy in, and it can definitely affect the lips. It can affect your teeth. It can affect sore gums. You can get bumpies on your tongue that kind of hurt. You know, all of this is because we're holding energy in. Now, it would be great to kind of have an exercise practice in order to get this energy out so that we don't have these ascension symptoms, but we have to understand where the energy is being built up, where there's a disconnect, where there's a detachment, where there is a dis-ease, if you will, of energies. And right now you're going to notice that it has a lot to do with what it is that we want to speak on that we haven't been able to articulate as of yet. Now, there's going to be an itchiness in our ears. We've been feeling it in our scalp. That's the crown. Now we're going to feel it in our ears. So instead of getting ringing in your ears or popping in your ears, it's likely going to be itchiness. That ties into the back of the throat as well. So there is like this communication issue going on. But I want you to pay attention to your eyelids, your eyelashes. They're going to be super itchy. Now, last week we had gunkiness in the eyes. We had blurriness in the eyes, a lot of eye ascension symptoms because we're having a hard time adjusting, especially when Venus finally got to the surface level of that pit that she's been in. She had a little bit of time to adjust to the sunlight, if you will. Well, now we're feeling the healing in our eyes. We are starting to accept some of the, I'm going to say situations, circumstances that we're currently in that we recognize need to change. We recognize people for who it is that they are, not the way that we wish that they would be. There's a lot of acceptance. And we know that when we experience healing anywhere in the body, or itchiness, I should say, again, forgive me, I'm sleep deprived. When we experience itchiness, that is a sign of healing. And so to have any kind of itchiness around the eye is kind of suggesting that we are healing our vision, our internal vision and our physical realm vision as well. I want you to pay attention to the oiliness, the change, this is going to continue, of the skin or of the hair. Again, oily patches, maybe a whole entire, shift in your oils. We are going through a rebirth, a resurrection, a recalibration. A lot of the solar plexus activations are triggering this within us. I also want to talk about how our scents are changing again. Maybe your sweat smells differently. Maybe your overall body odor smells differently. Maybe you're just picking up on smells outside of your body. And this is the interdimensional bleed that we've been talking about as we're morphing, upgrading into new vibrations and frequencies, expanding our sensory, I'm going to say, ability to bring new spectrum senses into our central nervous system and make sense of it. So whether you are changing your smell or you are smelling new smells, pay attention to where that's coming from, when it's happening, what it is that you're thinking about or speaking on, when it happens, because this is a good indicator on where it is that you're picking up on, I'm going to say, other metaphysical senses that haven't been integrated into the physical body as of yet. We're still going to be moving through the complex emotions that have been triggered under that full moon in Pisces. That, of course, is doing a deep dive, emotionally and karmically speaking, to try and heal us. This particular healing will not be complete until we have the new moon in Virgo. And it likely will feel very heavy, very weighted, very circumstantial when we hit that new moon Virgo energy. Because again, Virgo energy focuses in on the here and now, in the physical realm, the physical body, the physical aspect. And a lot of it is what it is that consumes our mental plane. Because again, Mercury rules over Virgo energy. It's mind and matter. What you focus on in your mind, you will bring into form matter of fact in your physical realm. So we're having a little bit of a reality check on where it is that we have to flip the script as far as what we're focused on in our mental plane in order to actually see the changes that we want to see in our physical realm. I want you to pay attention to bites or bumps or pimples. Now, you may not know whether or not a mosquito got you, or you are reacting to something, or there is a skin eruption such as a rash or pimples. It just may be an eruption. This, again, the skin, the largest organ of our bodies, we get indication of detox and healing when there are skin indications, because of course we can't see in our internal organs. So this is like where the energy and attention is kind of bringing us into the physical body, into that particular chakra system. And for most of us, we're going to be seeing those bumps pimples, those eruptions, I would say on our upper extremities, so arms, maybe lower ankles, and mid-back, because we are healing a lot of past pain, past trauma, past memories, past emotions. Again, we've talked about how we are kind of in the void. We are in a birthing process, so to speak. And again, giving birth is not fun, nor is it easy, nor is it a cakewalk. It's very painful. So again, reminder that we're holding a lot of rigidity into our physical bodies because we are exhausted. We're tired of pushing through. We're tired of just waking up every single day and seeing what kind of shitstorm gets thrown at us. But we're in it. And you can ask any mother who's ever given birth that they never feel like they have what it takes in order to get that child out. We're exhausted. But this is the time, especially as we're approaching the new moon in Virgo, where we really have to dig deep within ourselves and we really have to muster up the courage, the bravery, the boldness that we need to kind of just get this kid out of us, so to speak. And, you know, literally speaking, because our inner child has triggered and activated a section of our DNA that is the reemergence, is the resurrection, is the renewal, is the rebirth, that both Venus and Mercury have now supported us in kind of aligning with. And this is why it feels so painful. Even though there may not be some circumstantial evidence to support the pain and the trauma, the reflection that we're doing, this is all astral, this is all soul self, this is all energetic, and we're very much going through it. So pay attention to where you're holding the tension. Many of us holding that in our neck, on our shoulders. I ask you to really evaluate the weight of the world that you're carrying on your shoulders and who asked you to carry said weight. And when you come up with an answer, please put that weight down. We don't need to be carrying other people's stuff into this new level of karma that we're about to move into. And that's why the purge, the release is so intense as of right now, because we really do have to strip away that old fragmented energy as we prepare to move into the equinox energy, which is going to A, lock in what it is that we're letting go of, and B, lock in what it is that we're going to be building towards and growing upon. So you may feel that it's very painful to move your physical body, that there's a lot of rigidity. Please continue to stretch and crack and, you know, really push the boundaries of your physical body. On those days where you just don't want to get out of bed, you must move the body. The energy stays in the body. And if you don't give it an outlet, it's going to bounce around like a pinball machine and make you absolutely crack a doodle. Okay. We don't want that for you. Life is hard enough. Let's not make anything any harder, right? We have to engage the physical body even on the days that we don't want to. And we have to give the energy a direction and an outlet so that we don't make ourselves even crazier than we currently feel. The hunger will likely continue, but this week I feel like there's going to be more emphasis on the thirst. We have to stay hydrated. And the thirst for knowledge, the thirst for change, the thirst for information, the thirst for advancement, productivity, progress, all of that is really triggering our physical body, our biological body's want for fluids. And so the thirst is very high, very real. And considering the fact that we're going through a recalibration and this is essentially an energetic or astral detox, we got to keep the water to us. We have to flush out our system. We have to make sure that we aren't contributing to the overall stagnancy of some of this energy. So guys, I know that this is typically a little bit shorter than normal, but again, I am just a walking zombie at this point. I wanted to provide you with a little bit of something instead of just, you know, postponing and rescheduling it, but I do have to cut it off here. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I want to thank you for the love and support. I want to thank you so much for your patience, for your understanding. I'm sending you nothing but love, and we'll talk to you soon.